Hello and welcome to Bootstrap Biz Device, where I teach busy business owners on a budget how to work less and live more by leveraging technology. My name is LaShonda Brown, and I'm one of the 50 Canva verified experts in the world, and I'm also a Flowdesk University instructor. Today's live stream is sponsored by Third Nature, and I have Brian Helfman, founder and chief experience officer at Third Nature, here to share a few words about the September summer camp.
Thank you so much, LaShonda. I'm so happy to be here. So again, I'm Brian. I'm the founder and chief experience officer at Third Nature. And our September summer camp is all about helping you develop clarity around who you are and what you want, confidence to build something, whether that's a business, career, or even a lifestyle that more closely aligns with who you are and what you want, and direction. So an action plan to start manifesting that reality, emphasizing how you want to express and embody your values on a day-to-day basis. Also, it's adult summer camp. It's super fun. Campfire, s'mores, kayaking, canoeing, paddleboarding on the lake. Here's me on a basketball court. There's plenty of team sports, tennis, pickleball. Was very popular this year. We just had our first summer camp weekend of the season last month, Memorial Day weekend. The next one will be September 1st to 4th, Labor Day weekend. And yeah, just a great opportunity to deepen your connection to yourself, connect with others, connect with nature, and have a lot of fun doing it. So if you're interested, you can head on over to our website, which I know will be linked somewhere. Or follow us on Instagram. We're going to be sharing a lot more from the summer camp weekend that we did in May. There are people like PV who you're about to meet who have been on, I think PV's been on 4 Third Nature retreats. There are people who have been on as many as 10. I've been on like 30, and I feel like I continue to get so much value from these experiences, continuing to develop deeper levels of self-understanding, and again, continue to make it so that my life is more aligned with who I am, what I want, and how I really want to be spending my time. We've been doing this for about 7 years, but yeah, check us out. Hit me up if you're interested. It's a great experience, and we'd love to have you.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, to you and the whole team at Third Nature for sponsoring this live. I think this is a really important conversation because I think a lot of people are in a position where they're high-performing people who want to grow, but also want to embrace some type of freedom, whether it's time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. And so I absolutely love PV. I know she's been like an integral part of the Third Nature community. And so this just felt like the perfect pairing to have you both here. So I really appreciate you for doing this. And I think now I'm just going to brag on my dear friend and then embarrass her publicly. So thank you again, Brian. I'm going to switch over to the fabulous intro for our incredible speaker today.
Thank you, LaShonda.
All right, friends. So it is time for you guys to meet one of my dear friends. I love connecting the different tools that I use. And so I'll be honest with you, PV truly has been through it with me. This woman has literally helped me to start my day in a grounded fashion, by leveraging the app Groove. I mean, we literally start our days together. And so I am just so honored that she's taking the opportunity to go from the cell phone to the big screen, to just share some of her knowledge with you. And I really want you to understand the magnitude of who she is before she starts talking, because she's absolutely brilliant. And I've thought that about her from day one. So here we go. I want you guys to meet my dear friend. She is a quantum physicist turned consciousness coach. Palveshey has helped the greatest leaders from all walks of life transcend trauma and transform into high performers. Palveshey has served as an AI researcher at MIT, a lecturer at the University of Florida's World Bank program, and an adjunct professor at Harvard University. Palveshey has an exemplary academic background ranging from graduate studies in financial tech at Harvard to postgraduate studies in quantum physics. She has taught subjects from blockchain technology to block universe theory. After an extraordinary journey of her own, Palveshey has now geared her mission toward helping to spread consciousness and self-awareness. While Palveshey has received many accolades and built a heroic resume, ultimately, the biggest challenge she has faced in her adult life is realizing just a couple years ago that she was nonetheless depressed, addicted to drugs, and unable to face severe trauma from her past as a homeless youth. Now, Palveshey is on a mission to help others do what she has done: take ownership of their life by transmuting their current pain, suffering, and limiting beliefs into positive energy. She believes that the most advanced technology in the world is the human body. And if it can be truly harnessed, a person can do anything they set their sights on. So I am going to bring my dear friend up, and we are going to collectively pick her brain. Hi, PV. Welcome to the live stream.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
When I describe you to my friends, one word that is constantly popping up in my mind is joy. You are truly one of the most joyful people I know, but at the same time, I know you've been through a lot of tough circumstances in life. So, as someone who went from a season of homelessness to Harvard, how do you muster the strength to be joyful?
I'm not sure if it's strength as much as it was a choice to believe in myself. I used to think that I needed to be someone that others expected of me. This actually reminds me of something Charles Horton Cooley once said, that I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And that's, take a minute to just let that soak in, because our perception of ourselves is the most important thing in the world. And if our perception of ourselves is a perception of a perception, then do we really know who we are and how we're showing up?
There you go already. I'm like coming out the gate. Like, truthfully, I'm just going to keep like pouring into you, because I don't think you understand the magnitude of the blessing that you are to so many people through the way that you view the world. I mean, I just remember the first time I talked to you, like my jaw freaking dropped, because I'm like, here you are managing to be one of the most functional, multi-passionate people I've ever met. It's like, I know for a fact that you were out hugging a tree one minute, and now you're talking about blockchain technology. I'm like, wow, I love you. And I think it's just really interesting that after a career as an AI researcher at MIT, you found yourself teaching mindfulness to preschoolers. So how in the world did you make that transition? Because I was not expecting to see that in your bio.
I think that's a great question. I think along the way, I realized that I was I suppose the shortest answer is that I lost my appetite for life in to a certain degree. And I think that at a certain point, I realized myself that I was barely interacting with anyone. In fact, most of my verbal interactions were yelling at a computer screen when a code wasn't working. And it occurred to me how am I trying to figure out artificial intelligence when I haven't figured out real intelligence? And in fact, if I'm having this experience, it's likely that other people are having this experience as well. So I left with this lofty goal of raising the next generation more consciously, and went and volunteered at a preschool, which, I mean, we implemented yoga and baby meditation in the preschool, and the results were profound, not only among the students, but among the teachers as well.
So I think for me, so many people feel like their path has to make sense.
Mm.
And so I'm kind of like going off my script here, but I really feel like it would be interesting to have you speak to that obviously you made this transition through, the academic higher education world, and you felt the need to make that pivot. Did you have any sense of like guilt or shame around doing something at such a high level and then actively choosing to be with children? I'm very curious your thoughts on that.
I think that's a great question, because what you're getting at is some of what was going on in my echo chamber, where several individuals did say to me, why are you deciding to go from up here to down here? And it's crazy that we think of this very intellectual work as something that's higher than literally cultivating balls of consciousnesses. And other people's voices weren't the only voice in my echo chamber. In fact, my own negative self-talk was pretty potent as well, that would constantly tell me like, what do you think you're doing? You worked so hard to get to this point. Why would you change and pivot so quickly? But I think talking down to ourselves never helps. The way we talk to ourselves affects the way we think about ourselves, and our perception of ourselves will either amplify the negative or the positive within our lives. But the choice is up to us. And I think our choices uphold our self-respect, that what we do impacts the way we feel about ourselves. And I think that it really came down to that, asking myself, if I were to die tomorrow, would I be happy with the decisions that I've made today?
So what advice do you have for high performing people who actually reach that pinnacle of success fairly early on and then find themselves being discontent with getting it?
What advice? I think I would say that don't get lost in the pain. Know that your pain will one day become the cure. I find that more often than not, our challenges become our superpowers. And pay attention to why you feel discontent. Because the natural state of life is being in flow. Friction is usually a sign that we're straying from our path.
I understand that like freedom looks differently for so many different people, and we were talking about that earlier with Brian, whether it's, time freedom or financial freedom or location freedom. And I just feel like there needs to be an active approach to pursuing freedom, that it doesn't just happen to you. And so I feel like when I talk to you on Groove and you describe your day, you just seem so much more free than what you used to describe your life looking like. And so what would you say to a business owner who's trying to achieve that type of freedom in their life?
Freedom's an interesting concept, because I think this may be difficult to hear, but freedom is all we have. We are free as we are. And we are free to choose how we limit ourselves, from our thoughts to our actions. I would say one practical way of just not reminding ourselves we're free, but to gauge to what degree we're free, is to audit our negative thoughts. That go through the day and tally all the negative thoughts you have. And eventually, I think the goal would be to get to zero.
So I definitely think, because I've got some friends here live, I'm seeing, we've got Dr. Finch is here. My dear friend Brittany is here. Patrice is here. We have a lot of really incredible women watching this on both YouTube and on LinkedIn. And so I want to give them the opportunity to help guide this conversation through asking comments. So all of you who are watching this live, the joy of doing this live is the fact that you get to help create this content as we are streaming. So if there are questions that you have for Palveshey, I want you to drop those in the comments. But before we start answering some of those questions, PV, I really want you to talk about how people can stay connected with you, because I feel like you're showing up with a lot of intention on social media, which I think is part of how you're able to like keep your joy, to be honest with you. I mean, like, feeling obligated to be in all the places doing all the things is never fun. And so if people want to stay connected with you after this live stream, where are the best places for people to find you online?
Palveshey.com. I'm Palveshey on literally every social media platform. You can probably just type in my first name and everything will come up.
And I really love like your content on Instagram, especially because it is so calming. And I think it's just such a breath of fresh air on that platform, because I think a lot of people feel the need to constantly sell, sell, sell. And I constantly see you in the mode of cultivating community, which I think is really, really helpful for the internet space in this time. And so I think when I think back to some of the conversations that we've had on Zoom, because like periodically, like I will just like slide into your DMs and be like, oh, can we have one of our talks? Because I just want to hear like your perspective on things. We were talking in one of our last Zoom calls about this idea that, you know, joy is just such an essential part of running your business, that you almost need to give yourself that permission slip to do the things that bring you joy. And so I really want to know from you, as you are pouring into so many people throughout the day, what are some practical things that you do to help fill your cup and restore your joy?
I think you touched on this a little bit. What all of the social media content that I create, I don't create it for the sake of marketing. It is pure joy for me. It is content creation in a form that allows me to express myself. I think you're completely right that social media is constantly being used to sell us something, and so much promotion and ads. But I feel that to some degree, the content or the meat and potatoes of what you're offering can be, in a way, marketing in itself. It's actually the byproduct of a creative effort. So for me, drawing and writing are things that really fill my cup. I think you know that meditation is one of the non-negotiables in my life, along with 9 hours of sleep. But when those basics are taken care of, that's really when we shift from survival mode to thrival mode. We tap into this degree of creativity that just, it feels like flow to a point where we lose track of time. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, it definitely does. And I think Brittany has a really interesting question for you. So like feel free to really elaborate on this, because I don't think that she is alone in this, because I'm like, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, yep, I've had those thoughts too. So I am going to pop that question up and then you just take that away. Okay. So Brittany says, I heard the trope, remember your why, as a way to stay centered in your purpose with work. Do you feel that still applies or is central to today? Or is there a different perspective that helps you?
I think asking myself why I was doing any of the things I was doing was definitely the first point at which I began to change my life and the way I showed up. Since then, I do feel that I've a pretty clear vision of what my values are, and not just what my values are, but who I want to be. So, one thing that I love doing is adding to be's to my to do lists. And I'll give you an example. Say, some of the things on my to-do list is to find a new job. The things I would have to be in order to do that is focused, passionate, and disciplined. And in every decision I make, every little decision, the content that I'm creating, the way I'm speaking to individuals, the conversations that I'm having, even the way I spend money or the content that I'll watch or consume, I'll ask myself, is this bringing me closer to or further away from the kind of person I want to be? And I think that really gets down to the why behind the what that I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually ended up writing a post recently on LinkedIn where I was challenging myself to celebrate my wins. And at the same time, as I was writing it, and it was like, okay, so I, hopped on this call with the CPO at Honeybook and we talked about AI and growth and UI. And then I hopped on another call and talked about YouTube coaching. And then I helped film a documentary and all these different things. Like I felt this sting of shame that I looked chaotic in the process of
Mm.
celebrating my wins. And so, like, as I'm like, stream of consciousness writing this caption, I said, you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about what I do. It's about who I'm trying to be, who I'm trying to become. I am joyful, I am peaceful, I am, considerate and all these different things. And so I think we just sort of live in a society where, we feel obligated to label ourselves at all time, for various different reasons. But I think when we allow ourselves to live free of the labels, no matter what they are, and just embrace like who we're becoming and to constantly be in the mindset of trying to become someone different, right? To keep growing, to keep exploring. I think then we find ourselves in a position where we truly become our best selves. But when we feel so attracted to labeling ourselves and then being committed to, I will be this label at all times, we limit who we can become. Because I think about myself as a kid, when I was 7, I thought I would be on Broadway. And I'm not saying I'm like opposed to that, but like right now, I am loving living in the mountains. I'm loving that my day started being surrounded by squirrels and birds. Like you're not going to get that walking in Times Square. And so who I want to be in my 30s is not who I wanted to be when I was 7. And it's okay to continue to be evolving and changing and growing. And so I'm really happy to see someone like you exist, because I feel like in a lot of ways you're like a walking contradiction, right? You did the thing and you let it go, and you didn't end your life, you didn't say, oh well, my chapter's closed, we're all done here, I checked the boxes on my resume I was trying to pursue. You just kept creating and you kept exploring and you kept inspiring people to do the same. And I think that is so special and so beautiful about you, is that every time I talk to you, I feel like there's something new that has grabbed your attention that you're pouring yourself into in the season. And it's like, it doesn't matter what you said last week. This is what we're doing now. And we love it. We're here for
That
it.
was a different PV,
And it's like, I love that about you. Like you're a very unpredictable person. And I think in a lot of ways that predictability that we feel obligated to have robs us of really exploring what's out there. So, what is your current fixation right now? Like, what is like, are you reading? Okay, let me backtrack because your
Mhm.
blog, we got to talk about your blog posts, because you didn't even mention the blog. You have these moments where you just go off in left field and write like a mini book in these blogs. And so can you just like walk us through like what's one of the topics that you dug in deep into your blog on? Can you remember like a recent post?
So a recent post, I believe I spoke about the physics of energy and atoms, and how that affects our inner energy regarding our emotion. So the reason I started this blog is because I do very much enjoy science. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I do very much enjoy exploring the realm of science, in particular physics and astrophysics. And so many of those teachings do align with some of these spiritual practices or my own experiences through meditation. And honestly, I just started writing them as kind of like journal entries for my own understanding and perception of the world. And I started sharing them, and it seems like they've hit a soft spot with you, LaShonda.
I'm an avid reader. Thank you very much. And I know that you're not just writing blog posts, but you're working on a book. So I know it's like early to talk about the book, but you're here now. So
Great.
let's give people a preview as to what you're thinking about for the book.
So the book has been in the works and transformed so much just because of my own growth. But the core of the message the core message still remains the same, that lessons from my life that I've learned and how I overcame trauma and did transform into what I consider to be high performance.
I'm like trying to multitask over here. So I'm just going to say it verbally. You guys go ahead and drop any more questions that you have before I land the plane. I have to remember that like I have a job. And so it's so funny. I love creating content, but I forget like, oh yeah, like people may want to support you and buy things. So I got to remind them that's like a thing. So remember that I am able to provide content like this because of the generous support of the Bootstrap community. And if you found this useful and you enjoy my content either on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can always buy me a coffee at lashondabrown.com/coffee. And I will pop this up because I think this is a strategy that I would love to see more educators implementing. Within Buy Me a Coffee, you have the opportunity to not only be tipped on Buy Me a Coffee, but you can also start a membership. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you guys how to do that. And again, if you have any other questions for PV, just drop them in the comments. So let me go ahead and pop this out and then show you all what I mean over on Buy Me a Coffee. So when you go to Buy Me a Coffee, you are going to see something that looks like this. All right. And so I have been able to receive generous support from my community through Cups of Coffee. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see Buy LaShonda a Coffee. The way that this comes into my ecosystem is through a deposit via Stripe. So you can choose to buy 1 cup, 3 cups, 5 cups. I've actually had people type in a number and I've gotten 10 cups of coffee from one person before. Like that's a thing. And so this is a great way if you are putting out, extensive blog posts like PV, or you're creating, really meaningful content on Instagram or LinkedIn, you can receive support from your community without having to actively create more things. I think that's a common problem I see business owners having is they want to show up on social media, but it takes time away from them doing their job. And so here is a way that you can kind of make that worth it. The other thing you can do is you can start a membership. And so what I did with my membership is I decided that I would make it easier for people to attend my workshops. And so my workshops are $10 a workshop and my membership is $10 a month. And so essentially what I do when I feel compelled to teach on something, then I put it into my shop, I mark it as $10, and I send out a ticket to all of my star students. And so this is a way that I essentially pre-sell my workshops. And right now I have 20 star students. So whenever I teach, I know for a fact that at least 20 people are interested in either showing up live or getting the replay. And so I think a lot of us are being told we have to do all the things. When we're a business owner, we need to be, creating the content, we need to be serving our customers well, and all of the different things that it takes to kind of be a solopreneur or on your own. And so I want to tell you that leveraging technology to help you to work less and live more is something that I am currently walking through. I am my own living case study. And I will tell you, I am so much more joyful and passionate working 20 hours a week than I ever was working, 40 to 60 a week. And so you're going to find on my YouTube channel, whether I'm doing a live stream or I'm putting up pre-recorded content, the behind the scenes of how I'm doing this, what tech tools I'm using. And then I'll be honest with you, I love to share, case study reports to my Bootstrap Club community, which is my email list. So you can always go to lashondabrown.com to join that email list. But ultimately, I want to make it very clear that I'm trying to provide a different perspective and different types of content on the platforms that a lot of us are really burnt out on. Being burnt out on social media is such a disservice because, social media can be a joy. So friends, I am going to bring up my dear friend PV to ask one more question, and then we are going to wrap this up. So PV, we are starting a new quarter. We had a fresh start, new month, new quarter. what is something that you are pursuing in the next 3 months that is bringing you a lot of joy right now?
Um, like I mentioned earlier, I think one of the things I'm really pursuing is writing. It's bringing me quite a bit of joy, especially since there's this element of just doing it for the sake of joy, just doing it for myself rather than what will other people think. In fact, just earlier you mentioned, like, you had this conversation with the CEO and you felt like, oh, well, maybe I was too much. And in that, it's like, that's a great example of how we are who we think other people think we are. And when we begin to clear up that dust, kind of like cleaning up an old mirror, yes, that process is a little messy. The dust will get in our eyes and our nose. But once it's cleared, then we have a good reflection, a clear reflection of who we truly are rather than a distorted one. And once we have a clear reflection and goal of who we truly are and who we truly want to be, I think creation comes so naturally that it comes from a place of joy rather than a place of, what will other people think and will this be accepted, and will I get likes, will I not get likes, I hope I get comments, I hope I go viral, and all of that kind of goes away because you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, for the sake of joy. What about you? What's something you're doing?
Girl, what am I not doing? Oh my goodness. I honestly, so June for me was, and it's just so funny. Like, I'm just unpacking so much stuff. I called it creative chaos because, again, like when I say all these different interests, I feel chaotic. But, as I'm trying to work through that and unpack it, I just allowed myself to call it that, but truly ground myself in the heart of what I was trying to do, which is when I feel passionate and I want to create, just create. And if the audience is there, they're there. And if they're not, they're not. But the intent behind everything you're doing is just do what brings you joy, and don't be so focused on the content pillars, don't be so focused on virality, like just show up, be yourself, and attract your people. And so I tested that out in June and it went a lot better than I thought. And so now I'm like, okay, well, what happens if I keep challenging myself? What happens when I leave my office to film a YouTube video instead of like, having this as a crutch? Like, what does it look like for me to co-create and film B-roll and go on location? And so there's actually a 5-part series that I'm producing about 5 ways to practically support small businesses. And so I'm going to be popping into my friends' businesses and I will be filming myself sharing these things that I do that help drive traffic and increase sales and bring awareness to the small businesses in my community. And I actually got it sponsored. So like in a way, it like took the pressure off of myself to like worry about SEO and worry about all these different things and just say, you know what happens if you just create good content? It doesn't always have to be a tutorial. Like, what if you tell a really good story and let your audience interact with it? So I'm excited about the series. I think it's going to do well. I'm trying not to stress out about it because it's so different, but I feel like my channel is evolving into a group of really mindful business owners who want to be good stewards of their time and their resources and want to help each other, want to embrace the community vibe, whether it's, buying something from a shop online or physically going to a local coffee shop. I think like that's who's watching my content. And so if I'm right that those are my people, then me doing this like mini doc series is going to perform well. And if I'm wrong, well, then I learn more about my audience, but like I can't fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I have a question then.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay, fine. Go.
Okay. Just really quick. So what's so interesting is you said like, if I'm just myself, then all of this stuff happens. And you're absolutely right. In fact, just being myself and writing has led to expanding my coaching program, doing psychedelic retreats. And those were byproducts of, I suppose, just being myself. So how do you figure out what yourself is?
That's your question?
Yes.
Okay. But you're so okay. You know what? I'm not going to be intimidated that you asked me a thought-provoking question. I'm gonna be myself and I'm
Yes.
gonna answer it thoughtfully. Okay. All right, here we go. You're so smart. Okay. How can you be more yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you want to know. I'm like stalling. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go.
And I can like start
In case this is helpful, I'm going to do it in such a way where Brianna won't be mad at me, so she can cut this up. If I say something helpful, then we can repurpose it. I'm just gonna let this happen. Okay. Woo! All right. I want to try not to cry because, like, girl, this is all right. Anyway, here we go. How can you be more yourself? Okay. Well, first and foremost, you have to find the platform that gives you the least amount of anxiety to show up on, regardless of what everybody else says you should be doing. I have a video production company, and for 10 plus years, I have been behind the camera telling other people's stories. But at the same time, telling stories using video comes naturally to me. Everybody else is saying, it's so stressful, it's so hard. Why don't you just make some graphics in Canva? Why don't you just tweet? But that's not what brings me joy. That's not what lights me up. Video for me, telling stories thoughtfully with moving pictures, audio, video, editing those together to tell this beautiful narrative, that is what brings me joy. I feel like I can do the best storytelling through that medium. And so I think when I began to realize that when I showed up on video, I ventured into an aspect of my personality that got so restricted on other platforms. Like, I would cry, I would laugh, I would giggle, I would think of things spontaneously and not feel self-conscious to share them. When I showed up in that way on video, it was almost like this is the closest thing you can get to what is LaShonda like in real life. I am simulating a face-to-face interaction with me if I show up on video. Any other platform, you're just getting a fragment of who I am and not a comprehensive view. And so for me, I had to get over the fact that because I do video for a profession, that everything had to be this polished thing. And as soon as I allowed myself to start showing up live and say, look, legit, this is me with my water. This is me about to cry. This is me with my friends. I began to realize that this is the type of content that needs to be going out in the world, because this is the most authentic version of me. You put me on Instagram, I'm going to compare myself to 6 other people before I hit post. You put me on LinkedIn and I'm going to scan through what are the LinkedIn experts doing before I push post. But you put me on a live stream and I am calm, I'm excited, I'm joyful. And so I just think giving yourself permission to show up in the way that puts you in the best headspace. If Instagram makes you anxious, don't do it. If LinkedIn makes you self-conscious, don't do it. Like, once I started saying, you don't have to, you can be here on YouTube where you feel the most yourself, your audience will find you, even if other creators aren't creating in this way. And I think leveraging StreamYard to challenge myself, to create these graphics, to go, oh, how can I do it slightly better than the last time? How can I, make this more engaging for the people watching? That has taken me to a whole new level. And that's me. The real me is a person who is constantly messing with stuff. She is constantly making free trials. She's sliding in the DMs of developers. She's asking her friends, what are you using? That's me. And so I think when I stopped trying to imitate other people and decided to live my life, to do the things that I needed to do to be grounded in the morning, to work out, to go listen to the birds, to look at the squirrels, to, meditate, all these different things. When I decided that my day doesn't have to start at 5 a.m. working, it can start at 5 a.m. walking, and that's okay. Then I feel like I became the most like myself that I could be online. And I think for so many people, the reason why we don't show up authentically is because we don't give ourselves room to ease into our day. We jump out of bed, we grab the phone, we fill our heads with other people's thoughts instead of sitting with our own. And so I think when I started doing what I thought was like woo woo or lazy or all these different negative connotations that we put on like mindfulness and just being still. And I was just like, no, I'm a better person when I've worked out, when I've been in nature, when I've started my day in a calm fashion and I start my day at 10 and not at 5. Again, I felt like I was showing up as my best self. And so I just think throwing out convention is just let it go. Let it go. Whoever you thought you had to be successful in business, let it go and show up as yourself, be genuine. And what a lot of people say, your vibe attracts your tribe. It's true. The more you lean into what makes you unique, the easier it is to not compete because there's nobody like you. There's literally nobody like you. So stop feeling that it's necessary to duplicate other people's business plans, other people's marketing strategies, and just do your thing unapologetically, and your business will be fine. You will not be destitute. You will not be homeless. Like, you'll be fine. You may not be making as much money as people say you need to be happy, but you'll be happier. And that's what matters. So that's my thoughts on that.
Very nice. I love it.
Don't ask me anything else. You hear me?
Okay. All right. But I think you are right. Yeah. Easing into our day is without having other people infiltrate our minds is such an easy way to just take a step back and become one step closer to our true reflection.
This is what she be doing to me, y'all. All the time on Zoom calls. I'll be leaving our calls crying and writing and inspired. Like, everyone needs more people like PV in their lives. And if you don't have them, find them. Like, it's essential. It is essential that you have people in your corner who leave you better than they found you. Like, I cannot express that enough. Like, you need that. It makes a real difference. So, man, this has been so good. This has been so good. So I'm going to simmer in this for a little bit. But I just want to thank you, friend. I really do. I am so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful that you choose to start your day with me while you're tuning in everyone else out. I get in. I get to hold you accountable while you're going.
You see some rough times in the mornings.
Sometimes we just don't say anything. We just go morning routine, and that's fine. And I love it. I love it. I adore you. And I am so honored to have an inside scoop on your journey, because I just think you've already done incredible things and you got some more coming. And I just think that's so beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. So friends, if you are interested in being a part of the Third Nature community, you can always hop over to their website. You can definitely go to third-nature.com/summercamp to be a part of their summer camp in September. If you live in a city and you've never been to camp, you just don't go outside. You have no idea what you're missing out on simply by not going outside and being with other people, playing a game just for the purpose of playing a game, talking for just the purpose of talking. It doesn't have to be this huge strategy. Sometimes just being human around other humans can help you pursue the things that you want to do in your life. So, man, I hope that this was as meaningful to you as it was to me. And to my LinkedIn friends, we have this saying on my YouTube channel, and I will end this conversation with that. Until next time, ta-ta for now.